G'day friends. This video is introducing you to the 5 books that I think anybody needs to read if they are interested in a path of minimalist living or simplicity, however you want to categorize this. One of the really key things I want you to consider if you're interested in really honing in and diving into any of these books is that the best, most minimal thing that you could possibly do is to access them at your library. Interestingly, every book I've ever read in this umbrella of minimalism, I've actually got from the library. Some of the ones I'm going to tell you about today, I don't physically have on my hands with me. Nonetheless, I highly recommend them and I think you're going to love them. If you want to get more of this content, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this particular video, please don't forget to literally like it. Give it a thumbs up. Number 1, I'm going to break the rules here a little bit because it's not one book, it's one author. And I want to highly recommend any of the books by Joshua Becker. Now, the one that I have in my hands from the library at the moment is The Minimalist Home. This is an awesome book to take you through all the different areas of your house. So it's really practical and helps you declutter and gives you those prompts that you need to face those different areas and things and belongings that you have in front of you. So that's a really great practical book. His other book, which is The More of Less, I really recommend as well. Maybe more so as a first book or particularly an introductory book if you are new to simplicity and minimalism. It really works on all the different considerations from a mental standpoint, or psychology in a way, helping us really get inspired and motivated and clear on this path to creating more space and why we want to do that and the value that that's going to bring to us. If you can, get your hands on any of Joshua Becker's books because I know you will love them. The second book, and no doubt you've heard of it, is The Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. Her KonMari method is technically not minimalism, although it will certainly inspire potentially moving toward a more minimalistic life. When we consider minimalism, we consider more so about the things that we need and moving on with the things that are kind of superfluous and unnecessary, because there is so much value to be had in having less. The idea of sparking joy is a really, really great way to get started. I do think it can be confronting no matter what angle you come from when you're starting out, if you do have a lot of stuff, or maybe you or someone you know is an actual hoarder. But asking yourself if something sparks joy can work if you really, really are disciplined and you really understand what that means, because I can imagine that some people could pick up lots of things and go, yes, that sparks joy, and yes, that sparks joy, and it's all coming from attachment. So it may not be the most effective practice, but it's a really, really great starting point. And I really loved the book. I did read Spark Joy, but I do believe The Magic of Tidying Up is the one that you're going to want to dive into. And I really appreciate, I learned so much from Marie Kondo about folding. I'm sure you've seen her folding methods and how to organize and really place things in your home that you are keeping. So there's some really, really wonderful and beautiful considerations in there that I think everybody must know about, because it's certainly going to enhance your life no matter how much stuff that you actually have. All right, number 3. So the third book I'm going to recommend to you is Project 333. This is a book by Courtney Carver, and I've had the great pleasure of interviewing her. And really, Project 333 is a book, it's very easy to read. It's a book that focuses on your wardrobe. This is a really nice approach, because you can hone in on one area that you want to focus on and that you want to deal with. And generally, when we speak to minimalism and decluttering, the wardrobe or our clothing tends to be that first place that we gravitate to, or it tends to be the place that needs the most attention for most people up front. So Courtney really inspires us with this amazing challenge. She's got a great blog as well, and I actually really love her emails. It helps us move toward the embodiment of having a capsule wardrobe. So you might not end up with a capsule wardrobe, but you will certainly end up with a lot less, and your clothes that you do end up keeping and using will be far more, efficient and effective in pairing together, and you'll get so much more out of using them. So I really, really love having a book that actually goes deep. It's a deep dive into one area that needs a lot of attention for most people. All right, book number 4, and this happens to be so far my number 1 favorite book on minimalism. Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki. It's about the new Japanese minimalism. And this book both tends to challenging our mind state, our mental resistances in letting things go, or the way that we give importance and value to certain things. There are a lot of elements that he speaks to in this book that have personally come up for me in my own life and this path of minimizing and decluttering that I hadn't actually read about from other people. I hadn't seen about it, I hadn't heard about it, I hadn't read about it. And I was like, yes, I get it. And so it was really refreshing to find both things that I had experienced that I really hadn't read about anywhere else, and then also stuff that's pretty common. But he has such a beautiful and succinct and easy way to get us to think about each of the different tips and prompts that he offers. He gives some pictures in here. You can see and examples of his place and some other people's spaces. So it just goes to show that being a minimalist doesn't have to look a certain way. And it's going to look different depending on the person and how many kids you have, if you have a partner, and whatnot, and what your likes and dislikes are. The key thing about this book is it has 55 tips or prompts to help you really, really get going with decluttering and parting with things. And then there is also another 12, I think it is, 12 extra bonus prompts for the more experienced or advanced minimalist or declutterer. So when you've already been doing this for some time, it's kind of next level. It's going to challenge you and make you see things in a different way. So I really, really appreciate this book. I just churned through it so quickly. I really, really love the beautiful way that he weaves his own experience in and his own thoughts and reflections and his own journey. So it's very story-like in that sense, but also incredibly practical and effective. And I love reading a book like this where I get so many actual takeaways in my daily life to work on straight away. So I think that you're going to love this one if you haven't read it already. Now, before we dive into the 5th book, I just want to share with you that I actually have 2 little extras. They're extras because they're books I have not read yet, but they're books that I am reading. So book number 5 is Essentialism. Now, Essentialism is technically not the same as minimalism, but Essentialism is really very much part of minimalism, or maybe minimalism's part of Essentialism. But Essentialism is asking us to evaluate our lives, not so much our stuff, but the things that we do, the things that we think about, the things that we spend our time on, our conversations, our work, our relationships, and really honing in and refining on what is actually essential. So it is minimalism in a sense, because it is removing that which is superfluous in our life, saying no to lots of things as well, which is super, super important, and doing things that we want to do rather than trying to please others. It's by Greg McKeown. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name. Sorry, Greg. It's such a fantastic read. It's a little deeper and lengthier than the other books that I've mentioned, but still, I just churned through it. I found it so enriching. It literally, as I was reading it, impacted my daily life with the things that I responded to or how I responded, things that I said yes to and no to. It just gave me so much more self-confidence, and I felt so much more empowered and so much more clarity as well. I really do think that this book, Essentialism, is essential to a minimalist path. Time for those 2 bonus books. The book that I'm currently reading at time of recording is The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. The author is from Sweden, Margareta Magnusson. She's beautiful. She's an elderly woman who wrote this, based in Sweden, and I really connect with it because I know it can sound morbid to some people, but one thing I've often asked myself when I'm cleaning up and decluttering is this something that I want to leave behind for somebody else to deal with when I die? If I die tomorrow, think of all my stuff that I'm leaving behind. That's a lot of stress for somebody else to have to deal with. It doesn't matter what age you are. I think it's really, really important. This book would be obviously beautiful for your parents or your grandparents, or definitely anyone who is a serious hoarder, because life is precious and we have no idea how long that we are going to be here on this planet. If we can start now, we have the freedom, the lightness of knowing that if we were to be gone tomorrow or next month or next year, that we have created an environment that's going to be so much easier for other people to deal with. The final book, the 2nd bonus book I wanted to mention, is a book that I have not read yet at all. I'm waiting for it to come in for me at my local library. And that is a book called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. Now, the reason why I feel very attracted to this and why I think it's very important, I think is probably obvious. As I delve into my physical possessions, I'm starting to feel the weight of the tech clutter. I'm not too bad. I'm pretty organized, probably compared to the average person, but I'm considering, all the things that I need to back up, all the excess amount of photos I have on my phone, and I really, really am very mindful, particularly this year, about the clutter in terms of my feeds and just excessive social media time. This feels like clutter to me. I've listened to a couple of podcast interviews with Cal, and he's awesome. He's never had a social media account ever, like never. He hasn't actually had this kind of addictive experience. His research is fantastic, that is probably going to be a book that everybody needs to read sometime pretty soon. So there you have it. That's my top 5 books on minimalism, plus 2 extras that I think are going to be really, really awesome gems as well. I would love to hear from you. Can you leave me a comment below if you've read any of these books, or perhaps any other minimalism books that you have read and think are absolutely awesome and we all need to know about them. I'd really appreciate it, and I know other viewers would too. Thanks for watching today. See you soon.